It's Wednesday afternoon, just about 1:10, I believe, and I'm just finishing up posting a YouTube short of ducks. Um, I am a big fan. I'm a big fan of all nature, um, but there's something about ducks. The fact that um, they appear to be so vulnerable. Of course, they're super hunters, um, extremely protective. I believe they mate for life. Um, but they they're not as aggressive as geese. That's for sure. A geese in the right season. Well, I saw one um, literally confronting a moving car to protect its goslings. When the and it's across the board. It's not just the female. It's the female and the male. They will protect their young um, without fear whatsoever. I have been in the midst of 20-plus-mile training runs and um, went out of my way, even putting in extra distance to give them a wide berth. Deservedly so. They deserve to have that feeling of safety. But I was fortunate. This was a magical morning, all the way across the board, from my early morning walk before the sun comes up, and it was foggy, and I came across a herd of deer that simply magically appeared. I looked in that right direction at the right time, and the fog just parted enough to allow me to see all of them lift their heads up and watch me pass by. And I was fortunate enough to catch that on video. And then this later, later morning, um, the ducks, which is up on my latest YouTube short, they were in a creek, which ducks being they're more vulnerable by far than geese, as I mentioned before. They will look for more out of the way places for safety to lay their eggs, where geese all band together and um, all of them protecting the young fiercely. Ducks are definitely more vulnerable, so they find these out of the way spots. And I was fortunate to catch them land in a stream um, not too far from my house, not too far from the pond where I normally see them, and catch that. So that was what I posted just now. So if you guys have nothing to do, if you're already tired of listening to me talk, I don't blame you. Come on by and check out the ducks on my YouTube short. I never know what's going to capture anyone's attention with the shorts. It's all been nature for the past couple weeks, and sometimes the littlest thing that a crow wading across the stream, and it took off with like 7,000 views, and I had a beautiful blue heron hunting, and it got very few. We had a backyard deer that did quite well, um, and other stuff that doesn't. It's the nature of algorithms, what gets pushed out and what people see. I love doing the nature shorts because it just makes me feel as if I'm putting a little finite amount of beauty within the infinite capacity of the web, the infinite capacity of YouTube, that um, we're filling it up with every little talk like this, with every little um, reading from my blog, with everything that I see you guys put out. Um, Little by little, we're filling it up with beauty and meaning That's the amazing thing. We get to, if we view the world as inherently empty of meaning, which, let's see, you are, I'm not sure I can pronounce your name, so I apologize. No one is in the live. That's true. Just you and I. And our friend Destiny is here. Um, I'm actually perfectly happy and content having a conversation with myself in a live, um, maybe bizarrely so. But I am always happy when I have my friends stop by too. And I appreciate you being here, my friend. And our friend Destiny is here. Um, Hello and happy Wednesday, Eric. How are you? It's a great day. And I am doing awesome. Good. Happy to hear that. I was talking about filling up um, the interwebs, filling up YouTube with just one video at a time of something beautiful, something meaningful, and talking about the inherent emptiness of the world, of life itself, which a lot of people don't like hearing because they want to live in a world of value and meaning. But here's the thing, the inherent emptiness of everything allows us, as a conscious expression of the universe, to bring beauty and meaning and value into the world. The world, in and of itself, has the value of simply being, but we get to bring that unique human perspective. That's why, Shakespeare said, nothing is good nor bad, less thinking makes it so. Um, we could say nothing has inherent meaning unless thinking makes it so. I slightly disagree with that because it places too much value on thought itself. The inherent, the beauty of a flower doesn't need to be assigned beautiful, because before we even have words to express it, when we see a flower bloom, we know it strikes us. We see and we appreciate beauty without having to assign it anything at all, because it simply is. It invokes, an even better word. Um, in Kabbalah, they talk about the world of the infinite being the 99% world, and the world of this particular reality, our everyday exchange, being the 1%. And every time we extend love towards someone, every time we appreciate something beautiful, every time we go into stillness, every time we do an act of kindness, um, we bring a little more of that 99% reality of the infinite into this world. And that's our actual world, according to Kabbalah. Um, and I like that thought when I'm posting a YouTube short, that I'm working in tune with the infinite, that I'm doing my little part. And when I say a little part, doesn't mean that I devalue it in any way. It means that I realize what a large responsibility um, appreciating beauty is, and that it's an endless vocation. The Dharma of simply being is simply being, and recognizing beauty is a huge part of it. Um, let's see. Fave Harper, am I saying that right? I would try to expand it, but then I'm afraid I'd hit something and disconnect everyone. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. He says, he or she, I'm sorry. Um, I love your collection of books. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, there's more all over the place. And in adjoining rooms as well. Berdazzle is here. Hello, my friend. Appreciate you being here. So that's, I'm going to call out Destiny. That's why I appreciate her channel so much is it's full of beauty and full of joy, full of enthusiasm for being alive. Um, and that kind of stuff is contagious. If you put that out there, it grows, it expands. And man, do we really need it more than ever right now. I've grown to intensely dislike election cycles, and they seem to creep up ever quicker, ever sooner. I'm not going to get political here. I don't care who you vote for. Um, I think anyone who listens to me in conversation for more than 10 minutes could probably guess my political leanings, so that's fine. Um, in a way, I sort of reject all labels one way or the other. Um, I paraphrase the Dalai Lama when he said his religion is kindness and my politics is kindness. I vote for policies that um, offer kindness to the most people, to the vast majority of people. Um, so it does get very, very ugly during these cycles. And it's all the more important to, one, learn to forgive, learn to listen, and fill your space, fill your channels, fill your lives up with as much beauty and love and kindness as possible so that it overflows. So that someone comes to my page and they see a YouTube short of two ducks swimming upstream in the woods. And someone could say, well, what's the point of that? Or, big deal, shrug their shoulders. But it tugs at the heart a little bit if you let it. Nature heals. And sometimes through the course of the day, the only glimpse of nature we might get is either looking out the window or seeing a 45-second clip of two ducks going upstream in a creek. So if that little thing that I did could help someone appreciate nature, sorry, I got to pay attention to my cat. So Destiny says, emptiness makes room for more. When we manage to strip away our habits of moving, breathing, and thinking, going through the motions, we can wake into a fullest present moment. I agree. And I was going to piggyback on your video that you put out yesterday on the subconscious mind. I don't know if you're familiar with the Silva mind control method. I really dislike the title because mind control sort of sets off my yoga and Zen radar that we're not seeking to control, we're more seeking to understand. But you summed it up really nicely and meaningfully, making use of it to heal. That the whole meaning of the Silva mind control method, named after the founder, Jose Silva, is entering the alpha state, which we are pretty much in when we first wake up. But we can intensify it, we can deepen it, and then we can use that state to bring about meaningful changes in our life, to enhance our creativity. It's basically almost like a version of meditation, but with an end result in mind. My meditation practice doesn't have an end result in mind. I'm not meditating to arrive anywhere or to achieve anything. I'm meditating for the sake of meditation, to touch upon my deepest reality and carry it with me a little bit more in everyday life. But with the managing the alpha state, tapping into that subconscious power of the mind, we bring about these great changes by breaking habits or increasing our intuition, increasing our creativity, making us luckier. And it just occurred to me how helpful pranayama, the breath work, is for that. That maybe the quickest way of achieving that state of alpha brainwave potentiality is a quick session, 5 minutes of pranayama, slowing down the exhalation, and then visualizing, feeling, using the emotions. I know Abraham Hicks talks about that quite a bit. Um, Drawing emotion into the visualization process. It's not just visualizing, but you have to literally feel your desire being present now to manifest it, to make it a reality. If you just visualize it, but it doesn't have feeling, if it doesn't have that intensity to it, it's sort of like adding that little extra emphasis, a little oomph, putting your foot on the gas pedal just a little bit by adding that. Um, See what happens. Paul Purcell um, wrote a book, Wishing Well. This is, I think, like 2000. And it is very much based on Hawaiian shamanism, which I've been a big fan of. I don't know if you're familiar with Ho'oponopono, which is simply a means of clearing the slate, returning to zero state, erasing the board of karma by using 4 simple phrases. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. But it's in taking responsibility. You're not apologizing because you did something, you're apologizing because you're a participant in the world. And as a participant, it means that you are involved in everything across the board. We don't get to pick and choose. You can't be a participant and say, well, not this. We're soul deep in every aspect of existence itself, of the universe itself. It's Indra's web. You tug on one strand and the entire universe vibrates. So you use those 4 phrases in order to clean the slate, in order to heal, in order to forgive. If you're trying to, if you'd like to aid, comfort, heal someone, you take responsibility for it and you say, please forgive me. You're asking for forgiveness because you're a participant. I'm sorry. You're not saying it as an apology so much as you're saying that I'm sorry for the condition that we find ourselves in right now. Thank you, and I love you. It doesn't have to be in any particular order, and you would just repeat those phrases. Anyway, Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian shamanistic practice. Paul Purcell had something different in his book, Wishing Well, on how to actually make a wish. An amazing book. I had it years ago. I don't think I still have it, but it occurred to me this morning, and I did put an order in for a used copy. As well as Wayne Dyer's book, The Power of Intention, which for him was inspired by Carlos Castaneda and his talk of intention. It's a different way of looking at that infinite field of possibilities, the infinite field of potentiality, and realizing again that we're participants within that infinite field. We are the infinite field itself, whereas in the Bhagavad Gita, we are the knower and the field. The field would be our body, and in yoga, our body isn't just what they call the food body. This is the koshas, the sheaths. So we have the food body, and then we have the pranic body, we have the subtle body. There's 2 others, 5 in total, with our largest body being the infinite itself, being Brahma, the universe, and not just this known universe, but the universe that includes the absolute from which the universe sprang from, that little singularity of energy that just came, expanded. So how to make a wish? It's been a while since I've read it, so um, this would be a condensed and probably paraphrased version. I don't think he mentioned breath work. Uh, our friend, it is what it is. Lewis is here. How are you? I just saw that you have another session coming up with the J. Um, so his version is going to be slightly different than what I would. For me, it would be using the breath to enter that alpha state, and then for him, you connect with an aspect of nature, something live, some aspect of life. It could be a house plant. It could be your cat, your dog. It could be the ducks and the geese that you see early in the morning when you're walking. And you place your left hand over your heart, your right hand over your heart, and you simply make a positive affirmation of a wish, briefly, 8 words. I think 8 words was the total. Um, and then here's the most important thing, and this is across the board in every act of manifestation, every act of working with intent, and it is detaching from the outcome, knowing that you've done your part, and you walk away knowing that the universe will now do its part, and that because we are the universe itself, as Destiny is great to remind us, that it's an instant communication. You don't have to wait. It's already coming in reality. Um, so we detach from the outcome, knowing that we could say, knowing that it's in the universe's hands, knowing it's in God's hands. Um, let's see. Luis says, I'm doing great. How are you? I'm doing pretty well too. Um, and our friend, Horror of Space, is here. Thank you for dropping in, my friend. And let's see. So yeah, that was Paul Purcell's book, and that was a Hawaiian shamanism practice of making a wish. Sort of paraphrased by me. Again, the book came out I think in 2000, so it's been 24 years since I've read the book. But hey, give it a try. See what happens. See what you can attract in your life. See the power of making a wish and what happens. But make it sincere and make it for the good. As anything, there's consequences for every act, every action. As I mentioned, Indra's web. If you tug on a string, if you tug on one strand of the web, the entire universe vibrates. So know that there's more power at hand than we often realize through life. And of course, even the New Testament talks about it. Jesus talks about having the faith of a grain of a mustard seed. And also that all that he does, all that he did, we are capable of doing as well. It's funny because in my a lot of my non-duality friends, non-duality circumstances where people love to point out the absence of an actual inherent self, the emptiness of who and what we are. Their reply to this would be, who is it that's making the wish? There's no one present, no actual self, which neuroscience itself shows, and it pretty much aligns with the Buddhist and yogic psychology on the subject. However, there is the appearance of a self, and in reality, the appearance is as good as the actuality. For whatever reason, I don't try to figure it out. It's a mystery that there is an arising self within this body mind, which is contained within the greater body mind of the universe. And it is a living, acting, astonished, full of wonder and mystery, and sometimes sorrow, sometimes suffering, self. Emptiness and form. Emptiness is form, according to the Heart Sutra, not two opposing things. It's not emptiness becoming form or form reverting back to emptiness. It's one thing. So, self. Emptiness appearing as a self. I have no problem with that. Horror of Spice says, I use meditation in an interesting way. I had an asthma attack real bad. I practiced breathing through a straw and did a relaxing mantra, and it worked. That's awesome. And it just goes to show, well, it goes to show quite a bit. One, it shows that you had the capacity of mind in order to help yourself, which is amazing. And two, that we all have that capacity to use our own energy, our own mind, our own inherent healing power to bring about a change, an instant change in our life. Especially in that moment when, as you would know more so than me, although I've had my share of anxiety and panic attacks for a period of time, which was really bad. And they actually thought it might have been exercise-induced asthma. They diagnosed all kinds of stuff, including progressive lung disorder, before they one by one dismissed them all, but not until after they told me that I had it. That there's nothing more panic-inducing than simply not being able to breathe like that. So for you to be able to do that is pretty amazing. Make sure I got everyone covered. So I appreciate, by the way, our friend Aoife Harper. I really need to get better at pronouncing people's names. One of the problems is that because of the screen, I can't really see the name too well. I appreciate the fact that he felt a little bad that he was the only one here on my live session. A simple act of caring, that he or she put that out there. Those are the things that we can do for each other. Maybe some wouldn't even think about it, but I appreciate that they did. And a little act of kindness, man, how far that actually goes, how much energy there is in that one little act. That from wherever in the world, and it could be thousands of miles away, someone reached out for such a simple little thing that, you're talking to yourself. But as I did point out, and I have before, I've had an hour-long conversation between me and my camera, perfectly happily so. But again, it's always better when I have my friends join in. Destiny said, our emptiness creates more room for God within, and that will always bring more blessings into our lives. That's why the scriptures said that he emptied himself and became nothing to make room for us. It's a beautiful line. Thank you for sharing that. I Googled up the other day, and we'll do it again, Viktor Frankl's line in Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl being a psychologist who was in prison in a concentration camp during World War II, several, but I think he ended up in Auschwitz, and um, of course dehumanized. And let's see if I can find that quote. There it is. Um, so, of course, the entire book, Man's Search for Meaning, and being in prison, harrowing circumstances, watching every aspect of your life, every friend, every family, um, not just being imprisoned, but being destroyed, being gassed, being burned, being experimented on. Um, you can't, we can't even touch upon the horrors that were brought um, upon people, all because of a decision of one man and those who um, followed along. It never ceases to amaze me. Um, when they were released, and he only had days before he was going to be executed, and he was liberated. As they were walking out of the prison, they came upon a field of flowers, and he felt nothing. No beauty, no sense of awe, no appreciation that I was just about to die. I was in this prison camp, and now I get to behold the beauty of a flower. Nothing. Because as he said, he was literally dehumanized. He couldn't see the beauty of a flower. For him, it didn't exist, that he was not yet human. 2 or 3 days later, walking through another field, and it was filled with flowers, and he was finding himself human again, and he was overwhelmed, and there was a refrain going on in his mind of from one of the Psalms. I called to the Lord from my narrow prison, and he answered me in the freedom of space. I absolutely love that line, and he kept saying that to himself. I called to the Lord from my narrow prison, and he answered me in the freedom of space. So many ways that we could read that, but when we think of our Evanescence, have you ever taken magic mushrooms? As a matter of fact, I have taken magic mushrooms. I've taken considerable doses over a considerable length of time. That should probably not come as a shock to anyone. During the 1980s, I spent quite a bit of time following the Grateful Dead and experimenting quite a bit. The my regret isn't that I did it, but that I didn't do it as a sacrament, that I didn't go somewhere. I mean, amazing experiences. There's nothing like dancing on mushrooms at a Grateful Dead concert. Um, but to take it as a sacrament where you are opening yourself up to experiment, to experience um, myself as nature, myself as the universe, myself. All of those things came later through meditation, but I had that opportunity then, and I did had glimpses of that. But it was also about just having a lot of fun. Um, if I had gone back, I would approach it a little differently, I think. So we could take the narrow prison, I call to the Lord from my narrow prison, as our body, and that he answered me in the freedom of space, and that is still our body. It's realizing our own inherent emptiness. And again, emptiness doesn't mean the absence of, it means the capacity for. It's a big way of turning things about. Evanescence says, would you ever do them again? I used to, if you ask me 2 years ago, I would have said yes. Same with DMT. Um, Same with LSD. Now, I don't think so. Um, because it sort of reminds me of what Huxley said in The Doors of Perception, that um, you walk through that door of perception. You walk through that door to a greater expanded reality. But every time you take it, you might have a different experience, but it's the same door. And through meditation, through pranayama, um, you learn that the door is ever present. You don't need to, um, you don't need a tool to get there. That's the whole thing that I love. I urge everyone to Google up Douglas Harding and the Headless Way, and the simple experiment of pointing and finding that you're headless is as if you took a heroic dose of mushrooms or LSD. You get the not just the glimpse of the emptiness that we're talking about, the emptiness that allows all things to be, the emptiness that is, the emptiness of the Heart Sutra. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness. Um, just by looking in the right direction. And Richard Lang, who was a student of Douglas Harding passed away in 2007. I think he was 96, and he taught all the way through. It is exactly like Yin Yang Evanescence. The Taoist principle aligns so closely to the emptiness form principle of Buddhism. Closely related, and the same with the non-dual traditions of Kashmir Sivism, Vedanta, all the way across the board. So, yep, I absolutely love that line from Viktor Frankl. I'll say it one more time. I called to the Lord from my narrow prison, and he answered me in the freedom of space. It also reminds me of several people who have been imprisoned, who find their true freedom through the very imprisonment behind bars. It's not about, freedom isn't about what can be done to the body. Freedom is all about spirit. Freedom is all about knowing who we truly, truly are. So we'll keep doing some Googling here. As well, I think one of the major keys to realizing that is forgiveness. We always traditionally think of forgiveness as something that we bestow upon another who may have wronged us or we believe wronged us, and that we're, from the bigness of our heart, that we will forgive them so they can feel better about themselves. It is never, ever about the other person. Forgiveness is about gaining our own freedom, regaining our own freedom, because without forgiveness, we are interconnected with the act and the actor that brought about those circumstances that we feel harmed us in whatever way, physically, emotionally, psychologically. And who would ever want to be continuously tied to that forever, for all time? That's the major thing that Viktor Frankl discovered, was the reason why he thrived afterwards, while many of those who were in prison with him um, didn't, was his ability to forgive. And again, not for the sake of the people that harmed him or imprisoned him, for his own sake, so he could move forward, so he could be absolutely free. Some of the best ways of forgiving is actually to do some type of forgiveness ritual where, you know, perform a creative act, do a sculpture, paint a photo or paint a picture, um, something. Again, be creative and have it represent the act or the person or the people, and set it afire or set it adrift in the sea, or do some kind of symbolic act to show that you are now free from that. You're no longer imprisoned by what happened or um, how it happened. Think of Nelson Mandela. Um, when he came out of prison, I don't recall how many decades he was in prison, and he was near blind because of having to break stones in the South African sunlight hours and hours and hours every single day. And he walked out of there. When he went in, he was bitter, disillusioned. He was fighting against the government that legalized apartheid in his own country, against him. Um, and yet he walked out. I forget again how many years in solitary confinement as well he spent. And he walked out a changed man because he had learned to forgive, and he was free. In every sense of the word, he was free when he was in prison because he learned how to forgive. Um, Evan says, forgiveness is difficult to see as a way to be better yourself because you can't see around other people's behavior. This is true. Um, it reminds me, I mention this often when uh, Ramana Maharishi was asked by one of his followers, how do we treat others? How do we treat other people? And he replied with a smile that there are no others. There's just life. There's just reality. There's just us. One thing in reflection brings us back to Indra's web. One thing in reflection of infinite things. So when we can make that paradigm shift, we're not forgiving someone else. We're not forgiving the action. We're not forgiving the circumstances. We are just, a beautiful line is from Mark Twain. Forgiveness is a fragrance released by the violet upon the heel that has crushed it. So again, we're not saying, I forgive your behavior. I forgive what you did to me. I forgive you as a person. We're saying that we forgive because truly, in this moment itself, that no longer exists. The act, the thing that harmed us then is no longer in existence. We're just realizing, we're just coming to that realization that right now, this very moment, we're absolutely free. We are untouched. We cut loose those karmic ties that the past had over us, and we declare ourselves free, because in actuality, we already are. We just keep going back in memory, which again, even a memory takes place right now. A memory is the energy of this moment that is used to view something from the past, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes we got to keep doing that until it sticks. Other times we perform that ritual and we walk away and we're done. I don't know. It's one of the things that we sort of work our way through. I always love that line from Mark Twain, that forgiveness is the fragrance released by the violet upon the heel that has crushed it. So, guys, coming up on 2 o'clock, and we were talking about meditation And speaking of meditation, um, it's time for me to meditate. I appreciate everyone coming in. Evan, I really appreciate the input um, that you had, very much so. And as always, I appreciate Destiny, and it is what it is, for popping in Horror of Spice, and me make sure I will not forget anyone at all. Uh, you Far Harper, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. I apologize, Berdazzle. Thank you for coming in. Um, all of you guys. I'll see you again later today. I'm going to be doing the live reading from my blog. Um, hey, if there's ever a topic that you want me to do a reading of, I got 25 years of blog posts to choose from. I'm sure I've written about something. Um, so just leave a comment, send me a message. I'm always happy to. If I haven't written anything in the past 25 years about a topic that you think might be interesting, put something out there. I'll do my best to write about it, and then I'll read it out loud. Um, but I appreciate you all. Thanks again, guys. Take care.